episode 20 of What If Civilization Started Over. Today, the New World is getting explored. Big day, big events. Love to see it. It's finally happening. It's like 1600s-ish, maybe a little before then, around that time. A little later than the Spanish arrivals and stuff like that. And to be fair, this part's been discovered, but nothing else has. But now we're going to see some major explorations happen in the New World. So if you're down with that, please like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. But enough mumbo jumbo, time to get into it. Starting off with the Romans. Now, yesterday I think I called this New Brunswick. This is Newfoundland. I went ahead and Googled it. This is Newfoundland, and I think this is Labrador. This is New Brunswick over here. So, sorry, Canada. I'm too goofy. I know this is like Quebec, and then Ontario's over here. British Columbia, Yukon, Nunavut, Northwest Territories, Alberta. I promise I know. Anyways, the full Newfoundland area is actually going to be taken over by Rome, who's now beginning to funnel massive amounts of money overseas into this exploration thing. So they're going to very quickly be able to expand compared to Scotland, who's been doing a lot of expanding and have like a decent colonization program, I guess, but they also aren't Rome, so there's only so much they can do. But Rome will land over here, developing this land, securing all that, and then moving inland pretty quickly, pretty rapidly. Eventually they could reach all the way. I don't think you could see that because of my camera. They reach up, take care of all this, reaching far inland. They also discover this island, so that's a massive amount of expansion. They just took over like the entire east coast of the Quebec area. But Scotland's not done making moves, as their little Nova Scotia area is going to expand further as they move up, secure all of New Brunswick, primarily the just inland area, and they're doing pretty good. But now that these two have done some expanding, like I said, I think previously, other countries want to get involved. So let's go over those countries now. So the big players that are going to be putting a lot of money into colonizing this new frontier in the Pacific, unclaimed land, undeveloped land. Obviously there's France. France is eager to get some land overseas. It's a French country. Danish Prussia is also very big on doing that. Go up and explore. Estonia obviously invaded Scandinavia, partly to get all this valuable land over here in the Baltic Sea, but also so that they could launch out from Norway and do some stuff, do some expanding. Other countries that are interested include Rheims, who's been given access by the Romans to go through here, obviously. Sparta and the Old Empire are also very interested in the whole colonization thing. They have a little more difficult of a path to do so, mainly Sparta, as they either need to get permission to go through the Strait of Gibraltar here by Rome, who I would say they're somewhat friendly with. They don't hate each other. They aren't like close friends or anything, they're not best buddies, but they can tolerate one another, and enough for Sparta to get a green flag and be able to do some small colonizing. Water. My throat hurt. Anyways, Old Empire, they kind of the same thing, except they're pretty friendly with these guys. They'll let them through. But also they don't really know that they could do this, but they could try some wonkery where they go around Africa, but I don't think they are super well versed in that. Is Madagascar independent or part of the Old Empire? I don't remember. I think I just gave him to the Old Empire after... Yeah, I think No, that's a different color, right? Oh no, I think there's still a couple countries that don't have capital cities. That's a different color, yeah. Madagascar is not owned by the old empire. I thought it was weird that that would have been like that, but whatever. Now in the Pacific. The Pacific countries outside of these guys do not know necessarily that this is part of the same continent. They know that there's like small lands in Alaska and all that, but they theorize that they're on two separate worlds here. However, there are some countries that are interested in exploring further east into the Pacific, and those countries include Borneo, obviously Cambodia with their Hawaii, and North China and Japan, obviously. Big explorers. Even Estonia, to an extent, has aspirations this way, but they're not going to be able to capitalize on any of those. So, yeah. Also down here in Africa, I forgot to touch on Africa. How silly of me. This green country has some minor colonial ambitions, and probably this lavender-ish country here too. I don't think anybody else in Africa is really going to be making any immediate plays. Also, just to clear it up, because I don't want to have to color this in later, all of Greenland essentially is claimed by the by Scotland. Nobody else is really interested in Greenland. It's just a big ice ball, right? So, for all intents and purposes, it's not like they're going to be launching any colonization efforts from the north of Greenland. Basically, all their like cities are just small little ports along here for other efforts, mainly over here, like because it's close to Iceland, you know, control over like North Sea's over here, but even farther out, like this area of the Pacific, so they can launch them out and keep colonizing. So the next country to make a move will be the French. They're going to be the next launchers of a mission, except they need to turn down the brush from like 70 to, I'll say 10. Yeah, 10's kind of small. 15, that'll do. France will send their boat out from Brittany, France. They'll try to go straight. They won't go straight. They'll quickly kind of take a down tour. They'll go down. They'll kind of go down. They'll land at this island here. I believe, is that Bermuda? No, that's not Bermuda. This is Bermuda. Right? Okay, there's like gunk on my screen right there. Okay. Should be good. But yeah, France arrives there. Wait, there was an island there. Oh, that was a piece of gunk on my screen. I need to get a screen cleaner. What even is that? Oh. I thought it was an island. Okay. They keep going down. They keep going down their route. You know, they get to Bermuda. The French discover Bermuda. I don't remember if anybody else discovered Bermuda, but France. They're going to be the first ones to discover it. It doesn't really mean anything. They found an island. But on their second journey to Bermuda, they're obviously going to miss and discover a new area. And that area is down here in the Caribbean areas of Florida. Okay, maybe 15 is too big a brush size. I'll turn it down to like 10 again. So they're going to land right here in the east coast of Florida and set up a little habitat. I'm going to kind of do a little boat exchange here. They send them out to Bermuda, and then they launch from Bermuda back to the mainland. But they're going to start their little colony here in France. It's a little colony here in France. A little colony here in Florida. And it's alright, you know, it's not very stable or at all, but they have a front. They have established a frontier that they know how to send boats through and back to. So France has made their move. What will the Danish Prussians do? because they also have ambitions. However, their ambitions look a little something like this. They're going to be kind of smart about it. They head to Scotland. They're like, hey, Scotland, we'll give you money if you help us launch our boat out. They're like, fine. Boat gets launched. I say that like it's a slingshot, like they're just winding up and then bam, slingshot a boat. No, like they bounce from island to island to refuel and prevent seasickness probably, but that's happening anyways. These guys go down. They land in this Newfoundland. I almost call it New Brunswick. Newfoundland. And then they launch out because they have aspirations over here in this area, which is known about kind of vaguely. But they'll be the first ones to actually do something about it. They land over here in the east coast of Massachusetts and Rhode Island area. This part of the U.S., New England. Except this is not English. This is Dano-Prussian. Danish-Prussian, I don't know. But they're going to be the first ones to start developing in New England, eventually discovering the area that will eventually become New York City and discovering Long Island. So a decent haul for the Prussians. Definitely better than Florida, but that's okay. Prussia has made their move. Next up on the moves to make list is going to be down here in Africa with the green team over here. They already have these islands, so they send a boat out to here and then launch one out. It'll go north. Their ambition is to land somewhere up in Florida. They miss a little bit. Their boat gets a little redirected. They land in here, the Bahamas, the Caribbean. They land on this island right here. And then afterwards, they land over here in the southeast part of Cuba. Eventually, they discover the entire south part of the island, which is pretty cool. Later, they make a landing over here in North Hispaniola. So, Caribbean Empire, Green Team, Super Senegal, right there. It's cool. Now we'll see Estonia take their turn. I don't think this is turn-based, but you know, whatever. Estonia's going to send their boats out. Estonia's boats will not land anywhere in this like valuable coastline area. That's not really what happens to them. They send their boats straight out into the cold areas and land in North Quebec, which is pretty inhospitable, but Estonia also controls a large chunk of North Russia, so they're used to it. They're fine with it. In fact, this is probably more temperate than some of those areas. So they kind of just move on in, start occupying all this area. Eventually their little claim meets up with the Roman claim. Rome and Estonia, I don't know if they're enemies, but I imagine there's some. I imagine they're not best buds. They're somewhat enemies to an extent. So as Estonia's establishing their little, actually it's a pretty big colony. Their big Quebec colony. Rome's just kind of looking at them and being like, "Grr, we want Quebec." So we'll see kind of a race for this area between Rome and Estonia. But now we gotta address these two, the Spartans and the Old Empyreans. The Old Empyreans will make a move out this way. They don't want to go around Africa. So they'll go out looking to potentially reach the Americas. They don't really reach the Americas, they reach the Caribbean. I forgot to pick their color. How silly of me. Okay, they're going to reach the Caribbean. They're going to reach Puerto Rico. They discover Puerto Rico and a couple of these other islands. Shoot. Do I know the names of all these islands? Not well. I know this is St. Lucia, because St. Lucia is cool. I believe this is French. This is Dominica, I want to say. I think this is also French. These are Dutch. This is Barbados. I think that's Grenada. I think I accidentally messed that one up. Okay, we're gonna zoom in big time here then. There we go. Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, probably. Barbados, St. Lucia, France Island. I don't know what it's called. This one I think is Dominica. I might be wrong. This island is also French, I'm pretty sure. And then I think this is Antigua and Barbuda. And that's... No, that's not it. There's one I'm forgetting. Antigua and Barbuda. Maybe that's it, I don't know. But they claim all these islands. They claim the entire island chain. I'm spending too much time on these small islands. See if I remember them. They get all of them. In fact, they go so far down south, exploring this island chain. They reach Trinidad and Tobago, secure all of that, and then make a landing in this new land, which they're like, oh, this is a big-ass island. And as they keep exploring more and more, they're like, is this even an island at all? Oh my god. This is a new frontier entirely, which makes the old empire very excited, and so they'll rapidly begin ramping up their exploration program. So the old empire made a big move. Now what will Sparta do? Sparta, basically New Olympia. They'll send their boats out. Rome's like, fine, you can shoot your boats out. Their boats go sailing down here, kind of reach the old empire's claim around here in Puerto Rico. Old Empire and Sparta are, I wouldn't say they're tight-knit, but they're decent friends. They'll let them on through, obviously. These guys will go through. They will land up here in the north tip of Colombia, and they'll discover this. Eventually they'll also bounce across by boat and discover all this. Eventually their claim wraps around this little sea here, and now the Spartans have a nice little claim in the New World. So now we've seen several major powers from the Old World make their landings over here. Definitely some big things happening. But over here in the east side of the Old World, some of these countries are also ramping up their exploration projects, notably Cambodia and Borneo, and we'll start with Cambodia, who is going to be first. Also, I forgot to color in these major cities that these guys got. They kind of just blend in. I'll fix that later. But Cambodia, they have Hawaii, and they want to sail as far east as they can to discover the colonies that these guys have. They're like, okay, you know what? These things have to have a backside. Granted, they think it's probably something like this. Like a very skinny island. Kind of like this, I guess. Like the end of Argentina or something like that. Like that width. They don't know how big the Americas are, so they're thinking they're just going to kind of meet up with them. They will not be doing that. Cambodia's claim will... Whoa, I didn't mean to click. They'll keep going, reaching out. Eventually their boats will land in Mexico, down here in the coastline over here. I don't know if this is super easy to traverse, but whatever. It's a pretty mountainous. But Cambodia will discover this, thinking, alright, we'll establish a front line and then establish communication. Cambodia is spending a boatload of cash on developing land, so they're going to really establish quite the formidable little colony over here. However, they're not the only ones, because Borneo is also on the move, and Borneo is going to reach the Galapagos Islands off the coast of South America. A big move, and an extra big move because it means they're going to launch out from there and discover the coast of South America, over here in, I think, Ecuador. They don't have a lot of, well, I mean, they have a lot of ability to colonize. So they'll establish quite the foothold over here in Ecuador. Looking pretty good. And now for the northern East Asian powers, Japan and North China, which is just mostly China now. Except they have all this giant land. They're pretty intimidating looking. Like, they've got a lot of land, even if only this part's really useful, and a little bit this part. Most of this is just empty ice, but eventually it'll be good for resource, and then they'll really be firing in all 4 cylinders. North China, I'm on Japan's color limited. Japan's going to make their first landing over here in British Columbia. They're going to discover this island and begin exploring this terrain, which is pretty jagged looking, pretty jaggedy, but you know, they're developing it. It's cool. They secure all of these islands, eventually wrapping in this little area and surrounding it. Japan is now kind of, at least in their heads, involved in a race with China for gaining new land to see who can expand and become the most powerful country in East Asia. And so China will also begin to ramp up their exploration projects. I'll discover this island, I forget what it's called. Is that the Diomede? No, I think one of them is Diomede Island. I don't remember which one. But they're going to reinstitute their exploration into Alaska. Siberia couldn't really do it because they want to rebel, but now they're back under the same country. They're back to exploring Alaska, and they're going to move up along this island chain up into the south coast of Alaska. They'll also discover this island here. So, tumultuously, they will begin to develop the land in the south of Alaska, eventually taking control of all this, moving a little bit inland, but it's kind of hard too. There's some pretty big mountains here, so they kind of just send like 5 guys to hike the mountain, and they're like, ours now. So they will secure the south coast of Alaska out from directly Siberia. It's a little harder, but they're gonna make a landing over here and secure all of this. And now they're like, alright, we have some pretty big claims here in Alaska. How do we get them to connect? And instead of taking the smart way of like going through, because they don't really, it's kind of hard to do that, they're going to wrap around the coast. And now they have this giant colony along the entire coast of Alaska, which is probably the biggest of any of these colonies. So that's pretty crazy. They're doing pretty good over there. As for the situation in the old world, things are starting to heat up over here in the oh my god, I can't color. What's happening? Okay, I'm just gonna stick to Rome's color. Tensions are heating up between some of the colonial powers in the old world, notably France and not France, Estonia and the Romans. Those two are mad. They both want full control of Quebec. However, they don't really border each other, so it's kind of hard to be like involved in a war. However, that doesn't mean they can't be. So these guys have been getting closer allied with Caucasia, who is right on Estonia's border. And since they're friends with Sparta, for the most part, and even like Thessaloniki, and maybe not Anatolia, but whatever, they can send supplies through the Turkish Straits to support them. So, is war on the horizon? Who knows? I guess I would, but, you know. Ooh. So yeah, here, I'm going to fix the cities over here, because I had to make them a different color so that you can see them, because the country's innate color is so, like, bright. But I think that means now the cities are, like, really hard to see. Yeah, okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of... There we go. I think... Were those the only two? This might have been the only two. Yeah, I guess so. There's weird green pixels, too, from the old Mongolia country. Okay, there we go. All short up. These guys, they're balling. Actually, they're probably not, but, you know, whatever. I'm liking where this map's at right now. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? What changes would you like to see? Comment below. That would be pretty cool. I'm trying to think. I've run out of things to go off the top of my head, so I guess I'll... Where did I put it? My notebook full of ideas. Where is it? Did I lose it? This must look so weird from the camera, but... Alright, let's see. What can I do now? Actually, I ended up doing most of these, so... Here, you see the live creative process, because I don't edit my videos, because I don't know. I already did the Bavaria Union. Anatolia got mollywopped. Alaska was lost. Nova Scotia was discovered. Poland, Belarus. Thessaloniki collapse. Green team loses. Milan, that was a while ago. West Ireland. Spain. Scandinavia. Damn, most of these ideas I already did. Ooh. That's pretty crazy. I don't want to do that yet. Papua. Yep. Okay, that's one I could do. Japan takes Peru. We'll see that in a minute. India's fracture. How long ago was this? Alright. I guess we'll do that. I'm gonna need to brainstorm some more ideas after this, because I'm out. But I think I got 2 more things I could do to fill out the video, so, you know, stuff happened in it. Japan will go ahead and make a landing in South America. Currently, they've only made a landing up in like British Columbia, but now they're going to make a landing over here in Peru, over here in the south, like, area. Pretty thin, small colony along the coastline, but soon it starts to take shape. So there we go. Simple event, but, you know, Japan is getting down to business, you know. They're taking land over here in the New World. Ah, yes, this is going to be such a mess. It's going to be a wonderful mess. Yeah, so I guess we will instill collapse. Tanzania is big. Pretty big. And they're the kind of big that is unsustainable given their situation. So, a rebellion's going to start popping up along the south coast. Actually, you can't even see that color. What do I want to do here? Does this work? Does this work? That's good. Okay. We see a rebellion pop up along the south coast, the Mozambique coast. It'll pretty quickly shoot inland, and now Tanzania has a rebellion in their south part, in the south part of their country, which is not good. Tanzania's most like economically valuable parts are obviously along the river, so at first they're kind of just like settle down because they don't really care. But when this really starts to ramp up and they start losing major cities, Tanzania's gonna quickly start sending down their personnel. However, the rebellion is still growing, and it'll take some major we won't get notifications. They'll get pretty decently sized, and when rebellions happen, it just so happens that other countries love to jump in to capitalize on a weak situation, and this brown team will be one of those. They will move on in and capture this major city, and then kind of try to hold a front line against the Tanzanians. However, Tanzania is still stable enough for now to fight back, so they're going to begin to push back the Mozambique rebellions, particularly along the coast. They'll begin to threaten this major city again. They'll cut on out and recapture all this, and then proceed to start pushing into the brown country, recapturing their major city and pushing even further in than they got, pushing into new territory. They'll push straight in, capture this major city, and then begin to spearhead out from this side and capture this major city. So now the brown team's kind of like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have joined this war. This is looking messy. However, I said Tanzania was only stable for that moment, because now we're going to see a massive insurrection form, one that's going to spell the end of Tanzania. It's going to start right up here along the north part of Lake Victoria, and very quickly it wraps around the entire lake, along basically their entire population. It surrounds their capital city, and just by the day it's growing larger and larger around the nexus of this country's population. Eventually it'll reach this major city, and it'll slowly just start to branch out, major city after major city. It spans all the way to the border of this Ethiopia country, reaches this major city, reaches the border of Punt, and eventually expands so far that it reaches this major city and the ocean. So Tanzania is looking pretty cooked. This major rebellion is leading to a massive series of logistical problems. Their capital is technically still good, however they're evacuating to a capital down here, or maybe right there, along this lake, while they attempt to continue their invasions down here, which will gradually begin to slow. They will be unable to take this major city, and their advances into the brown team stop very quickly, after which the brown team begins crashing through the green team, as very rapidly they just tumble into despair. Botswana begins rolling through the more rural parts of the country just extremely quickly, securing a large chunk of land. They recapture all the major cities they lost/took and then lost, and it's looking bad. It's looking quite bad for them. The Mozambique country will also, I'm going to give them a little bit of this. They're going to push back completely, re-linking up with their city that was under threat, and very quickly the green team simply pushed out of range of Mozambique. There's no way. And now we can zoom out and see what's happening to them, and it's ugly. It's only going to get uglier when Angola decides that they want some of the land too. They're joining in on the war, and they begin moving out from their already kind of weird. I wouldn't say it's a super ugly exclave, but I guess it is. It's not even an exclave. It's more just like a, not panhandle. It's a part of the country that juts inward, and they're moving out from that and securing quite a bit of Tanzania's land from it. They have a desire to get major cities, so they kind of spearhead towards that. However, they're also forming a pretty large and wide spearhead over here to hopefully capture this lake. However, they might not get to it because this purple rebellion up here in the north is going really big, and a new wave of their recruits, I guess, a new wave of their subdivisions is pushing westward, and they will completely secure the entire rural area west of the country, including a large chunk of the border with the Gabon country. So they will take all of this. In addition, they will begin to advance closer into the capital city, which will fall surprisingly easy. Maybe it's because Tanzania kind of gave up on them. But yeah, this purple team up here is really giving them hell. They will capture this major city, and then they will reach this lake right here, where they will capture one of the major cities on the banks of the lake. Tanzania is getting folded right now. So much so that an entirely new separatist group pops up within right around here. That's okay, you can't even see that color. Hold up. Why are the colors so dull? Hold up. Okay, here. We'll go with hold up. I need to come up with a good color here. We'll do that. Okay. So right around here, we see kind of in the in-between area a rebellion pop up. And now there are two maybe three, maybe even four, like, powers nearing the new centrist, like, area of power along this lake. These guys will kind of slither around this lake. Their priorities more so around that one, but they will take the time to secure some of the more rural areas over here. So they'll take all this, they'll secure the entire lake over here, and from there they'll begin moving eastward towards the ocean. They'll also spearhead up and capture this major city and move a little bit this way. So at this point, Tanzania is so cooked. Mozambique will take a little more, begin moving a little more. They'll meet up with the border of this new country, kind of moving along it, reaching the ocean, taking this city. And from here, Mozambique will actually chill. They will peace out with all parties involved and focus on rebuilding and establishing themselves as a true country. Meanwhile, their little border here will be established with this new gray Tanzania color, beige. So yeah, in the south, Tanzania is completely lost. They have fallen apart big time, and their fall still has a ways to go. Moving westward, Angola will continue their advance, particularly eastward. They want to know if they can reach this lake over here. Will they? Maybe. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll let them reach the lake. They'll capture this major city right here and reach this lake over here, gaining access to yet another body of water. In fact, they'll also capture this major city, forming a border with these guys. At this point, I bet they're kind of exhausted from doing all this fighting. They're going to peace out with all parties involved, like Mozambique. This area up north will fall to the purple team, as well as this area. And from here, it's just the core Tanzanian rebellions, the purple and gray one. And the purple one is also very exhausted, so after securing just a little more land by the lake, they will also cease their fighting and let the rest of Tanzania begin to fall into the hands of these two. I forgot about this brown team right here. We'll get back to them in a second. But this gray team will make sure to sweep on in and capture all this. Tanzania's government is gone, reduced to atoms. And so it's pretty easy for them to just go in and be like, we are new Tanzania. You're part of us now. And everyone there is kind of just like, okay. And so now we see this. Actually, I kind of don't like the... We'll change that up a little bit. The brown team will move in, take control of all this area of Tanzania, and just like that, Tanzania is gone. Wiped off the map. Now, I kind of don't like this area, so we're going to say that through some means... Where did the colors go? Through some means, a certain chunk of the country didn't really want to be part of this Tanzania country, so right here we're going to have another small country forming. There we go. Now capitals, I keep forgetting capitals, so I'm going to make sure to do it right now. The capital of the purple team, Purple North Tanzania, is going to be the one it originally was. Angola, they already have a capital up here, nothing needs to change. Brown team, nothing needs to change. Mozambique, their capital will be down here. Oh, I just realized I can't. Oh yeah, hold up. There we go. New capital. This country, this Tanzania, their capital will likely be... We'll make it this city right here. Along the banks of the lake right here. So their capital will be right there. All good. These guys will build an entirely new capital right here. Just like that, Africa looks different in the south. The big green Tanzania is gone. They fell. They capitulated. Water. Alright, I think that's going to be it. So we'll end with the final scene of this video. Over here in East Asia, South China has been supported by the Japanese for a while. That's basically how they exist in the first place. But until now, because now their neighbors have had enough and they're deciding that South China is too unstable, it doesn't work, they're going to dissect it essentially. And the big progenitor of this is North China, which Japan is very mad about. But all their neighbors also agree, so they can't really do anything about it. So in this treaty, this area will go over to the Burma Siamese country, which actually the border here isn't great. I'm gonna see if I could do a little something like... No, actually, no, let me turn down the brush to 1. I don't know why I'm playing around like this. We'll do something like this. And then we will do an extra something like that. And then we'll even give them a little bit of Vietnam. It was always like this. Don't question it. Okay, I'm gonna have to zoom in because I think I'm doing some pixel gore. Alright. Should be good. Alright. There we go. That'll be the claims of Myanmar, or Burma, Siam. Definitely some big gains here, but obviously they're not the only one. The big one's going to be North China, and their claims will look a little something like this. They will take control of all this rural land, including this major city here. They will take control of that major city. They will loop down, and they will gain control of all of that. Now that I'm looking at it, South China did not have a capital city. It was probably this one, the one that North China did not get. But they'll secure all of that land, further expanding their extensive power in Asia. Also, I don't like the border with Burma, Siam, so I'm going to change it real quick. Give it a little more Give it a little more flavor, you know. There we go. That's a little punchier of a border. There we go. Actually, maybe give him more like a little nugget right there. Perfect. Okay. Stellar. As for the rest of this, we're going to see Japan's going to take part of it because they're just like, well, we didn't build South China up all those years for nothing. We're taking their capital city, this tiny little chunk of land on coastal China. North China is just kind of like, who cares? It kind of allows Japan to keep their little naval wall, though, with these islands. Not that North China can't just either A, with their military, just go through, or just go through Sakhalin, through their islands like that. It does kind of make trade harder, though, so Japan's winning in that front. Maybe they'll win long term, who knows. Over here, Borneo will gain a large chunk of land over here. Something like that. Almost doubling the size of their Chinese colony. And then the newly formed Vietnam will gain all this land. It's mostly rural, but it helps out. They're not very prosperous, so that's a big gain for them. So yeah, the partition of South China is the last event of the video. If you liked, please let me know by liking or subscribing or commenting. It all helps. It'd be much appreciated. And with that, here, let me save it. I wonder when the last time I saved it was. Okay, there we go. Saved. It's not going to lose the file again, hopefully. Thanks for watching, and goodbye to you guys. Bye-bye.